Surgeons, welcome to today's recording. I'm going to touch on a pretty common topic I see amongst surgeons, and that's lack of time and lack of energy when it comes to getting your workouts in. Whether you're following a current program and you don't have the time or energy to complete everything that's down on paper for the day, or you're just struggling to start and figure out what you should be doing, I'm going to be giving you solutions to help you get in quick workouts that can benefit you for both now, the short term, and for the long haul. So how did this come about? This came about from working with and talking to countless surgeons and running into the same challenges. I needed to find something where we could remove the lack of time and lack of energy as a constraint, because that's very real and very common. And what happens is it leads to inconsistency when it renders its head frequently enough. And it does happen frequently. So I had to get creative and I had to come up with better solutions. And that's what we're going to cover today. So we'll start off for those of you starting from scratch. So let's say you have a program or routine, but you're not getting the return on your investment, okay? Or you don't have a routine because you don't know where to start, okay? So what you can implement is something I call, and this is very common, what I implement with not only my surgeons, but any of my physicians or busy professionals that I work with. Strength density sets. So what does it do? It builds strength, it builds muscle, it sheds body fat, it builds your work capacity in only 15 to 20 minutes of time. Okay. Now, I should say it's worth mentioning the more frequently you do it. So I would say ideally you're doing this about 3 times a week. The more benefit you'll see with those things I just said, it'll give you benefit for your strength, for your body composition, for your work capacity. But if you're currently doing nothing, even just doing this once a week would be a good place to start. Okay. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to pick 2 lifts, one upper body lift, one lower body lift. What you're going to do is you're going to select a weight for that particular lift or those particular lifts that you think you can do for 12 to 15 reps. You'll perform each set for those 2 lifts with 10 reps per set. You'll alternate back and forth between those 2 lifts for 20 minutes. Okay. Very simple, very effective. You're going to get a lot of work done in a very short amount of time. Not only that, then we look at like the quality of your movement by narrowing it down by these 2 things, provided that you already have good quality of movement. This allows you to really get dialed in with your technique, because you're going to get more fatigue. As more fatigue accumulates, the likelihood of having more technical breakdown with your lifts is the likelihood goes up. So we want to mitigate that as much as possible. And one of the ways that we can do that is by decreasing the number of exercises or lifts that you're doing within that particular day. And by only doing 2 of them, especially 2 that you may be very good at doing, that makes this even safer for you to do and get all the benefit. Okay. Now, if you don't have good movement quality and you don't feel the muscles working that should be working on these particular lifts, or you're starting to feel it more achiness in your joint, more joint pain, then I recommend not implementing this and finding a qualified professional that can help you. The other way, you got another program I do called Controlled Recklessness. It does the same things as a strength density set, just in a little bit different manner. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a little bit more variability with your exercise and lift selection here, because you're going to pick 2 upper body lifts and pair it with 2 lower body lifts. Of those 2 upper lifts and the 2 lower lifts, you're going to split those. So you got 1 upper and 1 lower, and then you got another upper that you pair with another lower. You're going to set a timer for 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. What's going to happen is for that first 30 seconds, you're going to have that 30 seconds to get 15 reps in. If you're doing a bilateral lift, meaning you're moving both limbs at the same time. So if you're doing a bench press, for example, both your arms are moving at the same time, that'd be a bilateral lift. If you're doing a squat with both feet on the ground, parallel stance, then that is going to be a bilateral lift. Whereas if you're doing a unilateral lift, meaning 1 limb at a time, so like a single arm bench press, a 2-point row, a split squat, a reverse lunge, you're going to shoot for 10 on each side if you're doing a unilateral lift within that 30-second time frame. Now, either you get your reps done in the time allotted, so that 30 seconds, or the time expires before the reps are completed. Stop it whichever happens first. So maybe you get your reps. Let's go back to that bench press example. I'm doing dumbbell bench press. I get my 15 reps completed in 22 seconds. I'd stop. I'd have 8 more seconds to rest on my work period, plus the 30 seconds of rest after that initial 30-second work phase before I go into the next lift. So let's say I paired it with dumbbell bench press and I'm doing a kettlebell RDL, for example, targeting my hamstrings. Then I would stop the bench press after I hit those 15 reps. I did it in 22 seconds. So I get 8 more seconds of rest on my work period, plus 30 seconds before I go start the kettlebell RDL. Okay. And you're going to set this up in a format, as I mentioned, where you're going to have like a 1A, 1B, and a 2A, 2B. And this will make sense here on this next slide. So 1A, 1B, I've got a wall supported split squat, unilateral lift. So I'm doing 10 each leg. I got prone incline row or chest supported row. That's bilateral lift. I'm going 15 reps for that. I would do 4 sets of the 1A and 1B. Okay. After I finish those 4 sets, I move on to 2A, 2B, and I do 4 sets there. And, looking at those two, excuse me, you're looking at around, total work time, about 16 minutes, but you're going to be getting a lot of work done within that amount of time. Okay. Another option, you could go with a core mobility circuit. So you could do this on the fly on maybe a day where you're not feeling so great. That is an option. I will not discourage you from doing that, but what I would encourage you to do more so of is planning these days, maybe squeezing them in between your strength training days. Okay. And so what this is going to do is it can directly work on the muscles that control the axial skeleton, which the axial skeleton is going to influence motion at your appendicular skeleton. So the more control we have over the muscles that are surrounding the rib cage, the pelvis, the better control and range of motion that we'll be able to demonstrate at the appendicular skeleton, so your arms and your legs. And so what this is going to do is it's going to mitigate the wear and tear on your body and improve your quality of movement. Okay, so you see a huge translation, not only in your day-to-day, but just when you're in the OR, of not beating your body up so much. What you would do, set a timer for 10 to 20 minutes, pick 3 to 4 exercises and just cycle through those. If you need ideas on what you could be doing, I've got a playlist on my YouTube page. I believe it's called Mobility. I think it's called Core Mobility. Go in there and you'll get some ideas of like exercises that you can do. So what about, you already have a plan, right? You don't need what I just shared with you. You've already got your plan. Then what? Well, you don't have enough time. So what happens here is you just decide, well, if I can't do it all, I'm not going to do it at all. And so you just don't go to the gym. So that leads to the inconsistency. Or maybe you're too exhausted to do what's on paper. The intensity for the day is very, very high. So you decide, hey, I don't have it in me to do it. I'm not going to go to the gym today. Or you've just been experiencing chronic burnout and pushing yourself through this program despite that burnout, which we know what that leads to. That's going to eventually lead to lack of compliance, perhaps an injury, hopefully not, but it does increase the likelihood of that happening, dysregulated sleep, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to make sure that you're not doing that. So what you can do in a situation, rather than absolutely skip the gym, is do what gives you the biggest ROI for the day. So your strength work is most likely going to be that. Pick the 2 to 3 lifts on your program and just focus on doing those and getting those done. And if you got time left over, then you can go ahead and fit in what you can after that. Final consideration is, depending on how long your warm-up takes you and what you have in your warm-up, you might be able to cut back on it. There might be things that aren't really giving you much benefit as far as preparing you for your actual workout that you've got implemented into your warm-up. You can always cut back on that. As far as like what that would look like, I don't know. That's going to depend on your individual needs. As far as like whatever, limitations you have, whatever you feel gets you most prepared. I don't know what that is. That's going to be a decision that you're going to have to make. Okay. So if you're not already, you enjoy this content and you're not already following me here on LinkedIn, make sure you follow me. I'd love to connect with you. It's always great to connect with surgeons throughout the United States and learn more about what you all are going through on your day-to-day basis and see how I can help you out. And if you're a surgeon who's working hard but not seeing the results that you want, then DM me Surgeon Plan. I'll personally reach out with a couple of questions to see if you're a good fit for my Surgeon Vitality Blueprint program, and then we can take things from there. But I appreciate you guys hanging out for this 10 minutes. It's been great. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me a private message. I'll be happy to answer and point you in the right direction. You all have an awesome weekend, and I'll catch you soon.